The State Security Agency has dismissed reports that criminal networks which captured the agency are still present in the organization. However, the agency has agreed that it lifted the suspension of some members, but says this was done procedurally with no intention of entrenching the alleged criminal networks. For clarity on this matter, we speak now to the State Security Agency's spokesperson, Mava Scott, who joins us from Cape Town. Mr. Scott, thank you very much for your time. Explain to us what the process followed was for you to lift the suspensions of these people who were seen as running almost a criminal enterprise within SSA.
Good morning, Polly, and good morning to your viewers. Thank you for having us. The issue here, Polly, quite frankly, is that you had members of the organization that had been suspended for long periods of time, many of them staying at home for about 2 to 3 years without being charged. And in terms of our own prescripts, the Intelligence Services Regulations of 2014 provide that a member may not stay at home on account of suspension more than 18 months. If you can't charge that person in 18 months, you must then return the person because it is prejudicial to that person to be sitting at home. But also the issue that you are paying the person doing nothing is putting a strain on the fiscus and on the operations of the agency itself. So they were brought back on that basis.
All right, let's understand the reason why they were suspended. So give us the reasons why it was necessary for them to be placed on suspension, and how big a group of individuals are we talking here?
There are various reasons ranging from fraud to corruption and general misconduct on some of the members. You're looking roughly in the period that is being reported on at about 8 to 10 members. But the most critical are the ones that have been alleged to have embezzled funds. What is concerning, as I mentioned, is that people get investigated and they are sent home on suspension, and investigations don't go anywhere. I mean, our issue, or the issue of the organization, is that if you suspend someone, you've got to make sure that you conclude the investigation within the stipulated time and charge them. Otherwise, you would be breaking your own regulations internally if you let them sit there and continue to earn their salaries without doing any work for the agency. It's actually even prejudicial to their own person.
So who was conducting these investigations? I assume these were internal investigations.
Yes, indeed. These were internal investigations that were done by the agency. But as you would recall, even in the report by Sydney Mufamadi, I think that was published in 2018, there were concerns about investigations that were ongoing without concrete results. So this is an attempt, or this was an attempt to ensure that matters get corrected, members are brought back who've been away for more than 18 months, and whatever has to happen subsequent to that, because the agency is also mindful of the fact that there are allegations that are leveled against these people. We've got to find a mechanism to ensure that we follow up on those allegations, even as those members are back from this suspension.
Mr. Scott, I put it to you that you have allowed back into the SSA possible criminals back into the fold. How do you respond?
It is unfortunate that you brand people that have been alleged criminals, because some of them have been, as I said, staying away from work for about 2-3 years on account of being alleged for embezzling funds. However, the investigations have not been concluded. So it would be a bit unfair to say that these people are criminals until these are tested in a court of law. I mean, until recently, there has never been an effort to take these matters to police station and charge these people, and it's unfair. So anybody who wants to label these people that have been brought back criminals is being unfair, because the charges of these persons have not been preferred upon them. It's only mere allegations, and I'm saying that we're not going to leave those lying down. We are ensuring that as an organization, we're following up on these matters. As a matter of fact, just recently, we've appointed a forensic investigations firm, Ligwa firm, to ensure that they follow up on all these issues, working with the NPA and its investigative directorate as a measure to correct the wrongs that have happened before.
Mr. Scott, the word alleged is very important, particularly in our practice, and therefore the assertion that we are branding or labeling these people already will certainly not stand, at least in a court of law. However, let me explore this conversation this way. So whoever was responsible for seeing through these investigations internally, that person or those persons are also at fault. Where are they? Do they still have their jobs?
Well, you do have pockets of people who are involved in investigations internally around. As I say, there is a process of a forensic probe on all of these issues, including the lapses that happened on investigations. So we will not only be looking at people who have been alleged to have embezzled funds, but also on those people who were supposed to carry out investigations on people who did not do so or who dropped the ball in that regard. So it's a whole range of a probe that should uncover all sorts of misdemeanors that have happened in an effort to try and remake the agency and focus it to fulfill its mandate, which is to protect the integrity of our country and the safety of our citizens.
Mr. Scott, let's call a spade, sir. Lapses, that's euphemism for failure. Lapses, the correct word to use is that these are failings. And so these people should not be keeping their jobs. South Africans listening to you right now will probably not be, they might be forgiven for thinking that actually the reason we saw the failures that we saw in July last year was as a result of the state of the organization as it pertains now. How do you respond to that?
Yes, I agree with you that at some point you would have failures here and there. But I am saying to you, and I want to emphasize the fact that the rule of law itself implores us to ensure that we do not become arbitrary and suspend people and commit the same mistakes that we are trying to resolve. So whoever may have been involved in the investigations in the past and dropped the ball also has to face the probe in a procedural way, in a way that respects their own rights as well, because they have a right to be heard. Okay. We don't want missteps on the way. We want to ensure that we follow the law to the letter in our journey to re-energize the agency, as I said.
Final question to you, sir, and it's a completely separate matter, but perhaps related to what I've just asked you. Minister Pegicele, testifying before the Human Rights Commission on the July unrest yesterday, once again repeated that he was not provided with intelligence reports, although signs were there that something would happen. Can I ask you, I think this is probably the first time that we're speaking to the State Security Agency, apart from crime intelligence, which falls under the police, I'm looking now at the work of the SSA, why was there failure to predict what eventually happened in July last year?
Well, Tony, I think you will pardon me on that score. I think the train has left the station. The fact that there is a report on July and there are findings and recommendations should be enough to say to us as the services, here are the gaps that have been experienced, here are the recommendations. How do you plan to deal with these going forward? I think that going back and forth as to who gave what and did not give what is water under the bridge. The report is here. What is left for us is to look into what is recommended and what systems we can put in place to ensure that a repeat of July does not happen.
Mava Scott, thank you very much for your time. He speaks for the State Security Agency.